Let's cover a situation when you have to pitch or to convince someone, but you just have no results. Or you have results, but they're not the kind of results that you want. They're bad. So how do you pitch just using the vision or just using the potential without ever mentioning your results? Let's take a look. So there are many multiple reasons for why you may have no results. Maybe you're involved in an innovation project which is about the vision, but there's no proof yet, or no realization of that vision. Or maybe you have bad results because it was somebody else's fault. Or, God forbid, maybe you have bad results because you did something wrong. But either way, there are a couple of situations that you may find yourself in where you have to pitch or you have to convince, and you just don't have the numbers, or the numbers just don't make sense. And in fact, this situation is more frequent than you think. There are many communication and negotiation techniques that were created specifically to sell without results. Because truth be told, when you have results, you don't need a lot of communication. They speak by themselves. But anyways, this is our task. How do we pitch when we don't have results or when the results are not good enough? So for this purpose, we are going to cover 3 distinct techniques. The first is to sell with the potential instead of selling the track records. That is, you want to focus on the possible future potential instead of focusing on what has already happened. This is a technique that can work if you have good results but you want to seem amazing, but it's also useful if you don't have results but you still want to look good. The key principle behind this is the principle of anchoring. In other words, when you talk about the potential and the best possible scenario, people are going to think about that, and everything else that comes after is filtered by that worldview. However, if you start with realistic track record numbers and then you want to talk about better numbers, they're not going to seem as realistic. To give you an example, think of discounts. Let's say that you have something that costs $1,000. That's okay, it's a fine price. But now let's say that you have something that costs $4,000 and it's at 75% discount. The contrast seems a lot higher and it seems a lot better by comparison. So what we want to do is exactly that. Let's say that you have a project that historically has yielded 5% returns, for example, or 5% more operational optimization. You don't sell with those past 5%. No, you talk about the possibility in the future of achieving 20%, 25%, whatever it is, potential returns. In other words, people are always looking for an excuse to get away from reality. If you try to sell with 5% optimization or 5% returns, it's fine. You're not going to persuade a lot of people, maybe you persuade some, it's just fine. But if you say that it has a future potential of 20 or 25%, it sounds much better in comparison. And the key is, regardless of what the probability is that you're actually going to achieve these results or not, or regardless of what is needed to achieve them, the effect still stands. It's the same as going into a store and seeing a sign that says discounts of up to 75%. And you think, wow, this sounds excellent. In reality, maybe there's one single product that's at 75%, and most of them are going to be at 10%. But they don't convince you by telling you that, right? They don't tell you, most of our products are 10% off, and then there's 1 or 2 which are at 75%. No, they just say up to 75%. It's such a simple, but such a powerful effect. The second technique that you can leverage here is to pitch something new. What I mean is that if you have 2 projects, all other things being equal, the one that is the newest one is going to win, because people are just attracted to new things. This relies on the principle that all other things being equal, something that is new is always going to be more attractive. Think of the world and how fast it changes. When something is more recent, you just assume that it uses newer technology or newer discoveries or newer conclusions or more sophisticated people. But at the end of the day, when you have 2 things that are equal, if one of them is new, it's more attractive to anyone. Being new is its own persuasion principle. That's why it's so used in marketing, for example. And the final technique is to use credentials and reputation to override the results. In other words, the impression that you're trying to cause is, even if we didn't get results, we have everything that is needed to actually achieve them. In other words, you're making it seem like not achieving results or achieving bad results is just a coincidence. And it doesn't really represent this initiative's potential or this person's potential or whatever the value proposition that you're pitching is. And you should use whatever you can leverage here to really beef up those credentials and that reputation. In other words, make it seem like you have a sophisticated process, associate yourself with big universities or institutions, saying something like, hey, this is the process that Harvard uses, or something like that. The key here is that you don't want to trick the other side, but you do want to show that you have the sophistication and the credentials, and that not having achieved results is not a problem of processes of people. It's just a coincidence. You do have the right processes and you do have the right people. In a way, you're embodying that motto that says that the results don't matter, the process is all that matters. Because if you have the right process, then results are just going to come sooner or later. But if you have good results but the process is bad, then you are not going to be able to replicate those results. So these are 3 keys to sell without results, or with bad results. First, focus on the future potential rather than the track record. Second, all things being equal, make it seem like this initiative or this person is new or innovative. And finally, focus on processes, people, credentials, and reputation. The idea here is that if you don't have the numbers, at least show that you have everything needed to achieve those numbers. This is not going to help you succeed in every single situation where you lack results, but it is going to be a big help. So don't forget to browse the channel if you want more negotiation and communication techniques, whether for executives or in other contexts. And don't forget to like and subscribe if the content of the video was useful for you. Thank you so much for watching, and see you next time.